Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain episode 143. Yeah, we should have had this episode like 2 weeks ago, but you know, life
Stuff
happens.
happens.
So,
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks ago, Zachary was busy, had a business thing that you were busy with.
Last week was business. I didn't get much sleep the night before, so I slept all afternoon. And then let's see, what was the week before? I forget. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah,
crazy
well,
couple of weeks this
two
past.
weeks, 2 weeks ago, Zachary I knew was out for reasons, and it got to like 6 o'clock, an hour before the show, and I just had massive stomach pains. Like, to the point where I was thinking, if this lasts more than a couple of hours, I should probably go to the hospital. It was like double over in pain kind of thing. Luckily, it only
Yeah.
lasted for 2 hours, but I canceled the show because I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. And then last week, Zachary was gone. I actually asked Zachary if he could. I had a scheduling conflict. Uh,
Yeah.
I was supposed to go with a friend to see Cirque du Soleil Friday night, and then shenanigans happened, which meant that the tickets got canceled and moved to Saturday night. Just stuff happened,
Yeah.
and she calls me and she's like, this didn't work out, and the show's unavailable, and we're to Saturday night instead. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, maybe I can get. So I was watching Cirque du Soleil, and Zachary couldn't host a show, so no show last week. And then I had a business trip this week in Ohio, lovely Ohio. Speaking of which, how'd you make out with the tornadoes that were zipping through your state?
Um, I did okay. No
Okay.
tornadoes around here, so
No. One of the folks I know was kept texting me or text pictures of her in her bathtub because there'd be tornado warnings. It's like, get in your bathtub, and she's in the bathtub, and then it's like, okay, false alarm. She gets out of the bathtub, ring, 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 get back in the bath. She's like, oh, son of a gun. She was in and out of the bath all night. It was pretty funny. So
should have just filled it up and lit some candles and let
yeah.
the weather radio play.
Matthew asked, don't you show up early? I tend to show up 2 hours before a flight. Yes, actually, showing up early is how we actually got the flight from Oakland back to San Diego. If
Yeah.
we got the last two seats on that flight, so we would have got back to San Diego even later had we not showed up to the
Yeah.
airport at the hour that we
Yeah.
did.
Sometimes showing up early doesn't work out because, when I flew out to Boston, my flight out was boarding at 5 in the morning. So I get there at 3 o'clock. And, because, you get there 2 hours so you can get through TSA and everything. But the TSA didn't even open up until almost 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so we were sitting in the ticketing area I was sitting there for an hour before I even got to get into the terminal, which is a pain.
I have to say, I'm not a nervous flyer, but watching the person next to me literally cross herself and then fiddle with her rosaries for the entire flight was making me nervous. I've never seen anyone actually do that on a plane. She literally had a rosary that she was fiddling with throughout the flight. I'm like, you're making me nervous, ma'am. Stop.
Yeah, I'm not a nervous flyer either. It's just, yeah, I usually just try to sleep, but yeah, I had a hard time sleeping on the flights this past week, but oh well.
Yeah. How about you, Chad? Anyone in the Midwest battling tornadoes this week? Hope you're all good, because them some big storms that were zipping through like Texas and Oklahoma and a couple other states this week.
Yeah, it's been almost nonstop rain the past 2 weeks, and it's driving me nuts. I haven't been able to mow my lawn at all this spring yet, and because it's like it'll rain, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let it dry out for a day so that I can go out and mow, and then it'll rain the day I want to mow, and then I'm like, okay, we'll let it dry out when it stops raining, and just hasn't stopped raining enough for me to actually mow. So maybe I'll get to mow tomorrow, unless we get a freak storm that comes out of nowhere. But
Hey Jordan, glad you liked the Promised Neverland. I've since watched. I did a debut review for it, and folks like Matthew and a couple others actually recommended that show to me, and I thank you because I found it pretty enjoyable. Looking forward to. I assume they'll do another season. The show does really the only criticism. This is a fairly light criticism I have is the show is I don't know 12 episodes long, something like that, and it feels like they didn't budget their time correctly, or they originally had like 16 episodes and then they lost episodes near the end of production. We're like, oh crap. And then they all got away and lived happily ever after, you know? Because the last episode or so, you know, the final push, the final battle, that kind of thing is almost completely bereft of tension and drama. Everything just kind of works perfectly. The whole series is a great cat and mouse. The good guys try to do something, but the bad guys kind of are on them, so they take a step backwards and they try another thing. The bad guys get in the way and they try and go. It does that thing throughout the entire series, except for the very end where they just, and we execute our plan and it goes flawlessly and everything's fine. Yay. And it's a cool plan and it's foreshadowed well. They do things you're like, oh, that's what they were doing. Oh, that's well thought out and cool. But it just works so flawlessly. It's kind of dull.
yeah,
And I don't know how it plays in the book, but in the manga. But I'd actually be interested in reading the manga to see if it's done the same way and if that's a faithful adaptation, or if they just kind of ran out of episodes and just tried to fit every because they wanted to end at a certain point.
yeah,
Didn't really have the time. Oh, they have confirmed a season 2. That's good.
that's good.
I'll happily see it.
Yeah.
I didn't have my Switch with me on my business trip, but pardon me, I did have my work laptop, and I downloaded a couple of my GOG games onto my laptop, and I played one that I've had for a couple of years, an adventure game called The Cat Lady, and first of all, it's called The Cat Lady, so you know I'm immediately like, oh, well, this is interesting, and it's a point and click adventure game, a modern one. It was made in mid 2000s somewhere, I think, although within the last 10 years. Actually, so it was probably made in like 2011 or 12 or something like that. But fairly recent point and click adventure game. Little clunky in some areas, but pretty well written. The voice acting is hit and miss here and there. No stellar performances, but adequate performances for our leads. The writing's pretty good. The storytelling is unique. The puzzles are decent. It's got a real nice, real interesting, if low budget aesthetic. I actually literally credits were rolling like at 6:50 this evening. I was rushing to finish the game right before the podcast.
All right.
But I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward. Actually, what was interesting is I noticed in the notes on GOG as I was downloading the game that the creator of this one actually just released their third one. So I think I'll probably check out the rest from that series because it's
Okay.
pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, on my flight, I took my PSP with me, and I didn't play it on my flight out to Boston, because the main flight I was on had these headrest tablets where the entertainment was, so I got to watch Bumblebee. I hadn't seen Bumblebee yet. I really like that. I'm like, if all the Transformer movies were written and produced in that fashion, they would have been excellent movies. But
it's a movie that answers the question: what if you did a Transformers movie, but made it good?
yeah, exactly. And then I just played and then after that I just played Plants vs Zombies. But but yeah, but on the way home I was like, okay, I'm just gonna play my PSP because they didn't have an in-flight entertainment on the flight home, but they also didn't have power outlets at the seats, and so my PSP died halfway through the flight. Luckily, I saved. I wasn't paying attention to the battery life, and I saved. And like literally a minute and a half later, the battery died.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, well, good thing I saved, because that would have been terrible. Uh, but yeah, I just wish I had more power for that thing. I probably should have turned the screen brightness down. That would have helped a little bit, but I forgot about that. But
So one of my on the way out to lovely Ohio, where it rained pretty much the entire time, sitting in front of me, we're in the row of three women were sitting in front of me, and one woman. So it was a group of four, so three in one row and one woman right in front of them, and they were my age, but they acted like you would expect a bunch of 13-year-olds to act, um, or even younger. You know how kids, when they want to talk to someone behind them, they will get up, turn around, and kind
mhm.
of peer over the top of a chair. This
Yeah,
woman did that like the entire 4-hour flight, and they spoke in a volume that suggested they felt no one but them was in the plane. And I mean, they weren't being, profane or lewd or anything. They were just happy and excited and chatting and giggly, and it was really irritating the hell out of me. But I felt really bad about it because they were genuinely pissing me off. And after four, and I was feeling really bad. I'm like, grow up, Andrew. Yeah, they're loud. Put your headphones on. Just ignore it. And after 4 hours, they're in front of us, so they get up and start filing out of the plane. And the woman who's sitting in the row across from me mutters under her breath, and I'm going to swear here, so I apologize. She goes, Jesus fucking Christ, shut the fuck up. And I'm like, okay, I feel a little bit better now. It wasn't just me. They were irritating everyone on the plane.
wow.
And here's
Yeah, I see. I didn't have anybody like that on the plane, which was good. But most of my flights, I think everybody was kind of tired because my first flight was early in the morning. And so everybody was just kind of wanting to get to where they're going. And the flight home, I think everybody was just kind of grumpy because most of them probably had a really long layover the night before, too, like I did. But yeah.
yeah. Now what was funny is Thursday. That was very early Monday morning. Um, Thursday night, my the guy I went with and I dropped our rental car off at the airport rental place, and then shuttled to the airport to shuttle back to the hotel so that we could shuttle to the airport the following morning without having to shuttle to the airport, or drive to the rental place and do all that weird stuff. We just wanted to
Yeah.
shuttle to the airport and go. Uh, that night, we walked through the baggage claim on our way to the shuttle. Those four girls were there on the baggage claim. And I'm like, and we're walking along, and I'm like, oh my, that's the same four women. I mean, and they were just happily chatting amongst themselves at the baggage claim. Again, this was like 10 o'clock at night, so there weren't many people there. Um, and I actually strongly considered going over there and giving them a swift kick, but on our way. But it was an odd coincidence. I don't know why they were at the back. They must have just so they flew into Ohio and then went somewhere else and then flew back. I,
Maybe.
I don't know. We were all over the place, Akron and Austin Town and Cleveland and all over the place. So not too surprising, but
Yeah.
Suzanne screaming infants. Yeah, that does get rough too. I've been
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, there was a couple of babies on my flight
Jordan says, turns out the cursing woman was also the woman with the rosary. No, but that would have been hilarious.
home. Yeah. Uh,
So, I also played a week. I've been gone a week. So, last week I've been playing through Wolfenstein, the New Order, the new one that came out in
okay.
2015, I think. So the newish one. Um, And what's funny is because I played that coming right off of Doom, which I think came out 2 years later.
Yeah.
Um, Doom is a better game. Like, let me put that another way. Doom is the far superior shooter. I would also probably say it's the better game because Doom, I think, is the more fun to actually play. Playing Doom is just a rush. It's a blast. It's a totally you're zipping all over the place and shooting monsters. It's great. Wolfenstein, interestingly, its weakest aspect is the gunplay. It does everything else pretty damn well. Like the premise, the locations, the story, the set design, the set dressing, the dialogue scenes, the variety and the mission types. All that is really good. Um, the gunplay is not great. And in fact, I was talking to someone on Twitter about this earlier, and she had mentioned that it's a game that seems to not be able to figure out what it wants to be. Like it has all these movement and
Yeah,
stealth mechanics, but it also seems to want to be just a run and gun shooter. And I thought, and I agree with that because when I'm playing the game, I think the game actually works much better when it's being all sneaky, sneaky spy thriller,
yeah,
espionage type of game, you know, where you're sneaking around enemy lines trying to sabotage their stuff. I think it works really well in that sense, but when it gets into okay, big room, lots of enemies, shoot them, it mechanically doesn't support that in a fun way.
yeah.
Um, but it's not enough to turn me off of checking out Wolfenstein 2 whenever I get around to seeing that, because I have a feeling that after they nailed the mechanics in Doom, maybe they ported that over to whatever the second game is called, the new Colossus. Because, man, if this game had good gunplay, holy biscuits, that would be a heck of a game. So, Matthew
Right.
says Doom 2016 has a shockingly good story for a game that makes fun of story in a Doom game. That's true. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a good story, but there is one there, and a coherent one. I mean, it's not a revolutionary entry in the pantheon of literature or anything like that,
It's a
but
Doom game, of course
yeah,
not. All you need is an excuse to blow up aliens or
part
mock
of
demons.
exactly part of the enjoyment is just this meta commentary on it's a Doom game to shoot stuff. You know,
Yeah,
why do you care about the story? Doom guy clearly doesn't. Um, and that's pretty great. But Wolfenstein is the New Order is still fun. What's amazing is everything. You would think a shooter with bad shooter mechanics would be the death sentence for the game, but it does everything else so damn well that you kind of excuse, or at least I am inclined to overlook the less than stellar gunplay. Although I have to admit, I am stuck on level 14. I haven't been this stuck this hard in a game in like
yeah.
years. And I don't know if I'm playing it wrong or if I just suck. Uh,
Both.
a combination of both. Maybe I need to crank that difficulty mode way down or something like that. But it starts you there's a big room and you're in one corner of the room and it starts you without all the weapons and ammo that you collected in the previous missions, which kind of annoys me. So I have my long range single shot gun, which has 15 shots. I have my dual handguns, which do three burst rounds, and I've got 40 bullets for that. And then I've got my laser weapon, which is half charged, but automatically recharges after 2 minutes or a minute or two. And that's it. And there's a room full of about 8 guys that are constantly replenished because someone triggered an alarm somewhere. And one of those guys is very heavily armored and almost impossible to kill with the very limited ammo I have. And bad guys in this game take a surprising number of shots anyway. I mean, you take a ridiculous amount of punishment, but you're the
Of
protagonist and the
course.
shooter. That's expected. But these guys, with the single shot scoped gun, you expect you hit someone square in the chest, they're going to die. Not in this game, takes 2 or 3 shots, which feels weird. It's one of the reasons why the shooty shoot mechanics just don't play well.
Yeah.
The laser gun, you can, shoot, unleash all of the laser's energy at once and explode people. Sometimes, if the game's feeling generous, sometimes it arbitrarily decides no. So if you run out, you get gun. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna hide around this corner and pick them off. No, they advance on me and kill me, or I run out of ammo. So I'm like, okay, I'll try to run into the room and use cover. Well, there's a lot of cover in the room, but there's a bunch of dudes on the second floor leaning over the railing shooting me in the head, so that doesn't work. Try to run through the room, but they will gun me down before I get to the door on the opposite end. So I am hopelessly stuck. And again, I have not been this stuck in a game. I was stuck before I left.
Look
This is
for
good.
an
I
air
played it.
conditioning duct.
I tried it a couple of times this morning and could not get through it. I I need me a game genie.
Now, just look for an air conditioning duct and die hard it.
That's it. Yeah. I'm thinking, am I missing something like an air conditioner? But if there is, I haven't seen it. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Uh,
If anyone has any pro tips, because Get Good hasn't seemed to work for me. Like if you got it, because I think the game's only 16 levels. I'd like to see the end,
yeah.
and I don't
Strap
want
some
to watch it.
C4 to your chest, and when they kill you,
Yeah,
or and dead man switch it. So when they
I
kill you, it blows the room up, and you win.
I have a knife too. Maybe the secret is you just have to run out in the room and knife everybody. I don't know. Oh, and video games, please, for the love of all that is good, stop putting sprint on L3. Stop it. Stop it. Seriously, if there's a 10 commandments of video games, stop making run clicking in the run stick because I'm already
That's
pushing on.
dumb.
That
Yes.
doesn't work. It sucks. I hate it so much. Stop doing that.
See,
It's
that's
an
what that
analog
is
stick.
dumb. Yeah, it's a freaking
If I push
analog
it all the
stick.
way, I want to go fast.
Exactly. Slightly push it, walk. Push it all the way to the edge, run. Problem solved. I hate that when games don't let you do that. Or at least just put sprint on. If you're gonna make us hold a button down, put
Make
it on on your right hand. One of those buttons, or on the shoulder
Yeah,
buttons.
I mean, even the R3, clicking the right stick would be fine. At first, in Doom, clicking the right stick does the glory kill move, and at first I was like, oh, this is gonna suck, but it works fine. Just
Okay.
stop putting movement and extra movement control on the movement stick because that's terrible and I hate it. I
Yeah,
don't
and
care if everyone else likes it. I
pushing the
don't like
stick down is pushing it down and holding it is kind of
it.
uncomfortable.
Pushing the stick down while I'm already holding it in a direction is awkward.
Yeah.
Oh well. Hey,
Well,
chaos. Anyway, so Wolfenstein, I'm stuck. I'm a bad gamer. So
yeah, I'm currently trying to catch a big fish in Ocarina of Time so I can get the golden scale.
I was thinking, was it Final Fantasy 15 Fishing with the Boys?
No, I haven't
Whatever
gotten
it's
there yet.
actually called.
Yeah.
It should be called Fishing with the Boys.
I wouldn't mind playing a fantasy fishing game like where there's actual like monster fish that you can catch. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah. But
Jordan's talking about having to mash A to run. I've seen games that do that, and there's a sense it's like, you do this to run because you're pumping your arms. It depends on how often you want to sprint in a game. I mean, if that's the speed you generally want to move at, like in Wolfenstein, sprinting is something you're not going to be doing always. So really, it should be a button, just not L3.
yeah.
You got plenty other buttons on there. Pick one.
Yeah, see, I like games that
Something I don't need my
let
left
me
thumb
auto
for.
run.
Something on the right side, thank you.
Yeah. I like to auto run. So if a game lets me auto run, it's good to go. But I'm one of those people that it's like if the game has a run option, that seems to be what the default movement should be, and the press the button should be to make you walk. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're normally going to be going fast, then the toggle should be to slow the hell down. In
yeah,
fact, Doom could probably use a slow the hell down button because Doom guy moves at like 40 miles an hour. If this was a third person game, it would look utterly ridiculous because this guy moves like I probably fell off more ledges than was actually killed by demons
Mm-hmm.
because this guy moves like he's on ice skates. I swear, it is amazing. It's still fun, but it's just he's like whoa.
See, I'm also of the opinion that if a game requires you to use an accessory to allow you to run, like Final Fantasy VI, you had to get run boots or something stupid like that.
Okay.
I will sacrifice an accessory slot for the entire game just to have the auto run.
Oh sure, I wore the bunny hood in Ocarina of Time once I got that. I was wearing it till the end of the game. Is that Ocarina of Time or is that Majora's
Yeah,
Mask?
Ocarina of Time has the
Is it an
bunny.
Ocarina of Time? Okay. Yeah, I wore it. One, it was cute, and two, it made like crosses. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of going fast, let's talk about Sonic.
Oh man. So yeah, so how long ago was it? Like a month and a half ago or whatever that we saw that first teaser where it's like the silhouette of Sonic on the poster and everybody was just like, that is bad. That just looking at the silhouette makes me want to gag when I think of what Sonic would actually look like in that silhouette. And then we saw the other poster where it's like Sonic snapping a picture while holding the phone by his junk and seeing his super long and nasty looking legs. And everybody was just like, that looks bad.
Yeah, that's where he's sitting on like one of the support struts of a bridge or something, right?
Yeah, like the San Diego or the Golden Gate Bridge or something like that. Yeah.
I looked at that poster. I'm like, is he holding the camera against his junk to get that angle? Because that's a weird angle.
Yeah. But yeah, everybody was just like, that looks bad. And then that leaked art from the marketing art that came out that was leaked, and it gave us an actual view of Sonic, and everybody was just like, that looks bad.
But everyone was saying, maybe he looks better in motion. So the trailer came out this week. Zachary, does he look better in motion?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
He looks bad.
It is an objectively bad design.
It is. It is by very definition designed by committee.
Yes,
and
that feel. All due respect to the artist, that feels studio noted to death.
Yeah, I can imagine. There was just like the next day, somebody posted an artist's rendition of what Sonic should look like in the movie. They kept the texture and everything of like his fur and the general color scheme. So instead of the white arms, he still has the blue arms and everything. But they made him actually look like Sonic, and yeah, everybody was just like, yep, that's what he should look like. He's got the larger eyes. It's not one big eye with two pupils like in the games and anime and stuff, but he's got much larger eyes. His snout is more pronounced. He's got the shorter body with the longer legs and arms and thinner legs. Instead of looking like
bigger
little
head
child legs, they just look like the straight pole legs that Sonic
also
has.
I've seen this picture, and also one of the things that bugs me the most, oddly, a lot of people focus on the legs. One of the design elements of this this version of Sonic that bugs me the most is the damn ears.
Oh yeah,
the ears do not look like they're connected to his skull. They look like they're growing literally out of his hair. Like the ears are connected here instead of here. Here is my skull, but the ears look like they're up here, just kind of like someone taped them onto the fluff of his hair. The new thing actually makes his ears a little bit bigger and makes it look like it's inset into the fur and growing out of his skull. I know
Hmm.
that's kind of a weird thing to focus on, but it's the ears that bother me.
Yeah, yeah. Now
I mean,
that you,
everything else bothers
yeah,
me, but for
I'm
me,
looking at a
that's
picture
one
of
of the
it.
worst design decisions.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it, and yeah, that looks. Yeah, I can see why how that would be. And but yeah, generally, I have nothing to complain about his mannerisms and his voice. All that seems very Sonic-ish as
Mhm.
far as as familiar as I am with Sonic. It's just his design is just terrible. And
According to, I think his name is Jamal White, the gentleman who did the voice in one of the cartoons. He's probably most well known for the Sonic voice. According to him, no one even asked him to do the voice. I don't know who it is doing the voice, but I mean that would have been cool, right? I mean, come on.
oh, so yeah,
All right, so
yeah, it's kind of.
we'll get back to Sonic here in a second, but let's forget about what Sonic looks like for a moment. How's the movie look to you,
Um,
irrespective of what Sonic looks like? Pretend
it
he
seems
looks
to be
great.
your standard interdimensional travel. So Sonic travels somehow to our Earth from whatever universe he lives in.
You think he's just
And
an alien?
no, it doesn't seem like it's going to be an alien. It seems like it's going to be an interdimensional travel thing. Especially when you see that last little teaser in the trailer where the an actual Dr. Robotnik
Correct.
look with the
Robotnik.
mushrooms behind him.
Yeah.
That makes it really seem like it's going to be a interdimensional thing.
And one of the rings looked like a portal
Yeah,
that
it looked like he
two
threw a
people fell
ring
through.
and it turned into a portal because it caught what's his face and some girl. Um, but
Kind
yeah,
of weird that she was not introduced in this trailer at all. She's just there
she's
in a
just
few
there in a
shots.
couple of scenes. Yeah, a couple
I
of.
mean, I don't need a character introduction, just kind of an establishing shot. I mean, like the woman with Psyduck and Detective Pikachu. I don't think she's never established as a character, but she doesn't feel out of place in the trailer.
No, she doesn't because
But
we actually see her at several points, like on her own, and like the one shot where she's like getting out of her car and she's looking at whatever's behind the camera. We see that, and then we see her with Tim and or whatever the guy's name is,
yeah,
and Tim, yeah, but
Tim Goodman.
yeah. Um,
So
yeah, Jordan says it seems like the guy who plays the cop is getting typecast. Yeah, there was a movie a few years ago. I believe it was Hop, and it's like somebody showed or put a screenshot from that movie with the screenshot from Sonic trailer where he's driving Sonic in the car, and then the other one he's driving a CGI rabbit in the
mhm.
car.
I think the movie looks bad.
I
Like
think it does.
everything about it looks bad. Like the jokes are unfunny. Even Jim Carrey looks tired and bored.
Yeah, somebody had mentioned, Jim Carrey's pulling out, or Jim Carrey is doing his best Robotnik, and I'm like, don't you mean Jim Carrey's playing Jim, or it's Jim Carrey as Jim Carrey with a funny mustache?
Yeah.
Because that's what it'll say. He's going way back to his early '90s acting
Mm.
methodology.
I
You watch The Mask, you watch uh, Batman Forever. It's just that kind of in your face, loud and annoying
There
type
was a moment that did kind
character.
of feel Sonic for me, and that was where Sonic knocks over the car and says, "Is that the best you got?" And Robotnik says,
Hmm.
"No, actually." And it transforms to a different wacky vehicle. I'm like, that feels like a Sonic thing, or Robotnik coming up with these absurd, goofy contraptions
Machines,
to
yeah.
get a hedgehog. I'm like, that feels Sonic to me. I have to admit, though, I did laugh at one joke in the trailer, and that was the one towards the end where the guy and the gal are standing there somewhere with Sonic in a bag, and they say, "Is that a child in your bag?" And he says, "No, no. I mean, it's a child. It's just not my child." That made me laugh.
Yeah,
I laughed at that. I
yeah,
will upfront admit I'm not even going to hide behind it was so stupid I laughed. No, I genuinely chuckled at that bit. I thought that was funny.
yeah. That
But
was a pretty funny, but yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a good movie at all. I'm not even sure if it's going to be one of those Howard the Duck or Super or Mario Brothers
yeah,
so bad it's good type movies, because I genuinely enjoyed Howard the Duck. I genuinely
yeah,
enjoyed Mario Brothers. Those are entertaining films. They're not good films. They're not good representations of the source material, but they're entertaining enough that I liked watching them.
well, that's the
But
interesting thing about the Sonic character design is you could say, oh yeah, well, what about the Goombas or the Yoshi in the Super Mario Brothers movie? And here's the thing. The Yoshi and the Goombas in the Super Mario Brothers movie weren't Yoshi or Goombas. They weren't trying to be. They weren't. They were just completely different.
yeah,
Yoshi was just a dinosaur. The Goombas were just weird, shrunken-headed gremlin dudes with
yeah,
huge bodies. I mean, it wasn't even an adaptation of the look. It was just we just took the name and applied it to something
yeah,
else. Sonic is actually an adaptation of that design,
yeah,
and it's terrible. So,
yeah.
um,
So yeah, it's just it looks bad. It doesn't look like it's going to be
I think
funny,
everyone is curious
and
enough to go see it, though it will make a ton of money and there will be a sequel.
I
Like
hope
Venom.
not.
I
Oh,
think
I
everyone's
hope
just going to
not.
go see it anyway.
I don't plan on seeing it in theaters unless I
No,
still
nor am
have my membership, and it's just like, what's on? Oh, we got the Sonic movie. That's the only thing we haven't seen. We'll give it a shot. But it's going to be a Redbox or Netflix film for
I.
me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make plans to go and see it. Um, but here's my guess at what the plot's going to be. So you got Sonic. Somehow he's fighting Dr. Robotnik, like the actual Eggman that we see at the end of the trailer. He's fighting him, and Eggman uses some kind of contraption. Sonic interrupts whatever process it is and turns it into an interdimensional portal, and he gets zapped into our Earth.
Hmm.
And according to the trailer, our government and military catch wind of this powerful new thing, and they're trying to capture it. So they hire that Earth's or our Earth's version of Dr. Robotnik to try to capture him.
Hmm.
And at some point, he's going to capture Sonic. He's going to realize that he's not from our Earth and not even from our universe, and is going to somehow deduce that he can travel through uh, travel across dimensions using these power rings, and creates a contraption and meets his other planet or other universe, Dr. Robotnik. They join forces, and Sonic has to stop them both from taking over both universes. And that's my theory of what the actual plot's going to be.
All right. Well, Jeff Fowler, director of the film, said on Twitter, in response to everyone saying they didn't
That
like
Sonic is just bad.
Sonic's just a bad design. I mean, so he says, "Thank you for your support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. Ellipses. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. Hashtag Sonic movie. Hashtag gotta fix fast." Oh
Of course
man,
they
there's a
gotta
lot to
fix
unpack
fast
here. They don't
because
appear
the
to have,
movie's coming out this fall, isn't it?
yeah, like October, November, so 5, 6 months away. It, here's, it, hmm, okay. So one scenario is by design changes, or how exactly does he phrase it?
It's going to
It's
happen.
you want changes, it's going to happen. We're going to make the character best he can be. Uh, if they're not moving the release date out, what could they possibly change except maybe recoloring or I mean, unless they're gonna, I haven't heard that they're moving the release date. So
Yeah,
either
they
these
haven't.
changes are utterly minimal, or Sonic is not in much of the movie in the first place. He's like in 5 minutes of the movie, and they have time to re-render all his scenes. Or they're gonna they look to the video game industry and you said, hey, we should do that crunch thing, and they're just gonna
Oh
overwork all
man.
their employees.
Oh, that is going to suck. And that's something that people have raised concerns about. It's like, you got 5 months or whatever until this film comes out, and you're going to redesign Sonic in time for
You
production
know,
or in time for
hmm,
release. And it's like, yeah, you better be paying off. Somebody, I saw a specific comment. I don't remember if it was on Twitter or whatever, but it's like, you
yeah,
better plan on paying off every single animator's mortgage and student loans if you're
yeah.
going to crunch them that bad.
And as Matthew points out, that's on top of the crunch that VFX already goes through.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
you know what, Paramount, the movie looks bad anyway. I really don't need you to kill your animators and production peoples just to make Sonic look better. Okay, it's, I mean, I'll live with it. Just make release your bad movie, take it on the chin, do better in the sequel. Now,
Yeah,
another option is they've known for a long time that this design was crap. So, they've conspiracy theory, they have long been working to replace this, and this is old footage. And this is a stunt to say, "Oh, we worked really, we heard you and we listened to you and we worked really hard and now it's awesome." And that's a process that started a long time ago. Maybe, but we'll see.
yeah, we'll see.
Again, whatever Sonic looks like, the movie still looks bad. Maybe it was just a poorly cut together trailer. Who knows? Maybe it will great. But as Matthew said a couple times in the chat, yeah, Detective Pikachu. It comes out next week. I'm really looking forward to
Oh
it.
yeah, I'm taking my son. His birthday was just a couple of weeks ago, but we're doing his birthday party, and we're taking all of his friends to go see Detective
Nice.
Pikachu. So
Oh,
yeah,
and as Jordan
that's gonna
points
be
out,
awesome.
if you are completely or however substantially you're redesigning the character, have cuts of both movies on the Blu-ray.
Of course. That's one of the things that now that Disney owns Fox, maybe we'll finally get a original cut on Blu-ray of the Star Wars movies
There you
because Fox has been holding those hostage for 20 years now.
go.
But yeah.
I don't my love of Star Wars is on an incline now. I mean, for
Yeah.
years there, I had stopped caring.
Well, but you know, you see, I've got my Star Wars on VHS. These are
Yeah, too.
from the 80s, I believe. Or
Mm-hmm.
no, that's a 80s release DVD or video VHS. Unfortunately, they're the
Pan scans.
they're they got
I
the
have the pan and scan VHS, and I have the letterbox.
yeah.
Best.
I really want the letterbox ones
Yeah.
because these ones you don't even see Chewbacca at the award ceremony
Yeah.
at the end of New Hope, and that's a worse slight than him not getting a medal at the award
Right.
ceremony.
Oh, and I'm sure you heard that Peter Mayhew passed away this week.
Yes, and that was very sad. So yeah, he joins
The
Carrie
actor who played
Fisher and I just had that open and I closed it. The actor who played R2D2, I forget his name now too, but he died
oh,
3 years ago.
Bert. Shoot. Uh,
Let me pull that back up here. Kenneth Baker.
Kenneth Baker. I
Yeah.
think I'm thinking of the sound guy, Kenny Baker. That's right. Um, yeah. So,
Well, and then the guy who played Grand Moff Tarkin and a few other people have passed
yeah,
as
a few,
well. So
Carrie Fisher, very notably too.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Tarkin was Peter Cushing.
yeah.
Oh man, people keep dying.
Well,
John Singleton passed away this week too. Apparently, he had a stroke and just went into a coma, and then the family decided to take him off of life support. It's
Yeah.
like I was like, dude, was he that old? He really wasn't, but stuff happens, man. Mm.
All right.
So
Well,
yeah, that got dark. So hey, let's talk Avengers Endgame,
yeah.
which is
We
hard to
talked
talk
a
about. But
terrible movie. We talked about a
yeah,
terrible movie. Now let's talk about a
talk
good
about a good
movie.
one. Yeah. Um, so Avengers did pretty. Endgame did box office wise pretty well
Oh
for it.
yeah, it took over the box office world. I think it's done better than any film ever before. I
Yeah,
believe.
something like
Um,
what at 1.1 something billion worldwide.
yeah. Let's see. Endgame opening box office. Let's
And
see.
I saw a lot of people like, "Oh my God, how can a 3 hour movie be making this much money?" And I said, "Well,
1.2 billion in its opening
1.2
weekend.
billion. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Here's how Endgame made all the money. Even though it's 3 hours. Uh, number one, it's playing on a lot of screens. Every theater it has it on like 4 to 6 screens, so it's playing on
Oh
a bunch
yeah.
of screens. Also, a lot of theaters like AMC were doing 24-hour showings its first weekend. So it was playing round the clock. And
Yeah.
three, it's the culmination of a decade's worth of nearly 2 dozen very popular films. I mean, it's like a landmark event in cinema. It's something that
Yeah.
everyone had to be there for. So I mean, it's also a very entertaining film. So uh,
Yes, it is. I was very surprised at how much they were able to pack in there,
mhm.
and it wasn't boring at any point. Like I never
Oh,
found
very well
myself.
paced three
Yeah.
hour movie. It flows very nicely. It didn't have any dead spots for me.
Yeah, it didn't have
Uh,
any for me either.
Jordan
I
says,
was very
"Real answer:
surprised.
we're all nerds with no life." And as Chaos says, also yes.
Yeah.
Um,
So
One thing
so
I found interesting comparing Infinity War to Endgame is Infinity War I felt was a movie that new audiences could just jump right in without having seen any of the other movies and then fine.
yeah.
Endgame, it's a spectacle, so you'll enjoy it, but if you haven't seen like all the other movies, you are going to be lost in a lot of
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
going to be like,
there's
I have
a
no idea who these people are or what they're talking about or what the significance of some of this is.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a film that if you haven't watched at least one film from every character's franchise plus Infinity War, you could
Yeah.
probably get away with ignoring every other film, but like just at least watch the introductory films of each of the characters.
I
Watch
don't know. Thor Dark
Endgame.
World is a pretty is a pretty important one to pick to
Yeah,
watch
well, that's
too,
true.
surprisingly.
Um, but it's like I told my wife before you went in, I'm like, okay, if you really want to do a marathon, I don't recommend doing the entire 22 movie marathon. But it's so I just went through and listed the introductory films for each of the characters
Hmm.
and any of the films that had something to do with an Infinity Stone.
Yeah. So
And
like Doctor
and
Strange.
yeah,
Like you
Doctor
could probably
Strange.
skip the Ant-Man movies.
Yeah, you could skip the Ant-Man movies. You could skip the you could skip the well both Guardians. Well, second Guardians of the Galaxy movie is not that important. But in game or the
You could watch either one of the Guardians movies, I feel,
yeah, well, but
and pick up
if you
who
want
the
to stick with
characters
the
are.
if you want to stick with the Infinity Stones, the first one's the one that
Okay, yeah,
matters. Yeah.
fair enough, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah, so things like Civil War and Winter Soldier, while they're cool and all, probably not as important to the overall thing of the movie. Although if you don't watch Winter Soldier, one of the best scenes I think kind of will go over your head in Endgame.
There's an exchange between Cap and Spider-Man and that come on now, that's not a spoiler. You know
Yeah,
everyone's fine. Um, it calls back to a quick conversation they had in Civil War. So
yeah.
uh,
But yeah, but
the ending
in
of
general,
Ant-Man and Wasp is important to Endgame. It is, but it's also set up in the movie itself. So
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, most of what happens in Endgame, how you react to it, the significance of it is really dependent on your knowledge and familiarity with these characters and what they've been through.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
So
like,
this is definitely not a film that stands on its own, but I wouldn't really hold that against it because it's not meant to be. I mean, it's the
yeah,
second part
exactly.
of a conclusion of a decade's worth of serial storytelling. So
Yeah, that's
that's kind of like
my
saying the last episode of Game of Thrones doesn't really stand on its own. I don't know who any of these people are. Oh, that person died? What do I care? I don't know who
yeah,
they are.
yeah. If you look at this as the as the series finale, so to speak,
Mhm.
of a TV series that's been running for 11 years, it works really, really well. And I and it as somebody, I'm someone who's watched every single one of these films.
Yep.
I've rewatched a number of them. I haven't rewatched all of them. It's like a few of them I've only watched once, but some of them I've watched twice. Some of them I've watched several times because they're that good. But as someone who's watched all these and is invested in this in these characters, this is a freaking awesome and glorious payoff for watching all of those films. I was really, really excited and happy to watch it. And yeah, if you haven't watched any of the Marvel films or only watched a couple of them, you're probably going to come out of it just like, okay, what was so great about it? Yeah,
Yeah.
but you might still have fun. I don't know. But if you didn't watch it, at least Infinity War, you're gonna miss out on a lot of the setup. So
As I admitted on Twitter last week when I saw it, this movie made me cry.
yeah, yeah.
It
My
might have
wife
been
and
because it was
son.
3 hours long and I really had to go to the bathroom, or it might have been just emotionally moving.
It was, yeah. There were several emotional scenes, and I was taken. Taken by surprise at a couple of them because I wasn't expecting them when I saw them,
Mhm.
and I was kind of expecting a couple of them, just not when I saw them. But yeah, it's yeah, we and a lot of characters got their due. I think we saw some really great character growth.
Some did
Jordan
not, but
mentions Nebula
oh,
is
Nebula's
one
wonderful.
character
I've
that
really
that
glommed
they
onto
really
that
worked
character,
with her.
especially since Galaxy Guardians 2.
Yeah, with Guardians 2 and was she in Infinity War? I can't
She
remember.
was, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, she's really grown as a character, and I think she could probably stand on her own if they wanted to branch off a film for her. But but I think she works really well with the ensemble cast of Guardians as well. So
Mhm.
maybe just keep her there. I don't know, but
Yeah.
um,
What's interesting is you mentioned a lot of characters get their due. I think some characters got shortchanged, but I can't feel too terribly upset about that because even at 3 hours, there's just a lot of characters, and someone's
oh
going to
yeah,
get the short end of the stick because
yeah,
otherwise the
exactly.
movie's going to be 8 hours long.
Yeah, and yeah, I don't know how much of a spoiler this is, but yeah, one character that fans had some righteous indignation over on the character poster really wasn't in the film all that much.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Still glad. Still, if you're going to put her on the poster, you better put
you got
her
to put her
name
name
there,
on there.
especially
Yeah,
if she's the only person on the poster without a name.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Uh,
so let's see. Are there any other non-spoiler things we want to say before we get into specifics? The movie at its core is an Iron Man, Cap, and Thor story. Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's essentially a core Avengers movie.
Yeah, yeah. The original Avengers cast from, so if you go back to the first Avengers movie, this is their capstone.
Hmm.
They have other characters play supporting roles in that, but yeah, it's Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hawkeye, and Black Widow and Hulk. The
Yeah,
original six. It's
Hawkeye
their story.
has an interesting dramatic through line in this film.
Yeah,
Widow probably it does not. She, as has unfortunately been the case throughout the entire franchise, is
like what do we do with her character?
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm actually it's one of the reasons I've never been particularly gung ho for a Widow movie. Not because I don't like the character, not because I think Scarlett Johansson doesn't do well. Fine character, and Johansson does very well. It's that the movies don't really seem to care about the character, so why should I care about this character's movie, right?
yeah,
Widow has there are moments here and there, of course, but taking a look back at the full narrative, Widow rarely is her own person. She's usually there to prop up somebody else.
yeah.
Uh,
Because you had the original Avengers, and she was there as just kind of the sixth wheel.
Well, I mean, as she
Yeah,
says herself in Age of Ultron, I'm always picking up after you boys. I mean, when she's first, what's her role in Iron Man 2? Basically to get Tony off his ass, right? Encourage him.
yeah,
Her role in this movie is to, without spoiling anything, uh, help Hawkeye with his grief over the loss of his family. That's reducing her role in the film down a bit, but uh,
yeah.
uh, in Age of Ultron, again, her role, she's there to
To help
calm the
Hulk.
Hulk, and yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So she's rarely ever her own person, and none of the other characters are there to support
yeah,
her and further her narrative and stuff like that. So in some ways, I'm actually interested to see a Widow movie just because they're like, okay, now we actually have to have a character. Now it's her movie.
yeah,
So I'll be really interested to see what they end up doing with a Widow movie.
yeah.
So because
All right.
she broadly, again, a lot of great individual moments, but broadly as a character and her place in the narrative, I feel she's been underserved for the most part.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So, I guess we're approaching an hour, but so I think now is the goodest time of any as we throw up our big spoiler warning.
Spoilers! If you have
Yeah.
not yet seen Endgame, go see it. Go to the bathroom before it starts.
Yeah. Go to the bathroom before it starts. Make sure you haven't drank like a 44
Or get
ounce
a
soda
caffeine.
before then. But I managed. You go to the bathroom beforehand and get a drink before you go and just slowly sip that drink while you're watching the film. Don't just gulp it all down in the first 30 minutes because you're going to have to go pee. So just sip that drink, savor it for the 3 hours because that will get you through the film without your throat going parched and you won't have to pee halfway through.
I didn't just make it all the way to Endgame without visiting the restroom. I made it all the way home.
Yeah, see, I went pee before and then I went pee after. So, just because I don't like driving when I really have to pee. So,
Yeah. It
all
was
right.
that was a packed theater too. So okay,
Yeah, it was.
spoilers.
So, spoilers are out of the way, or
All right.
spoiler warning is out of the way.
Spoiler
Now let's
warning,
go.
no holds barred. We're gonna spoil. Okay. Um
So,
a
first
couple
things
characters.
first.
I just want to mention a
Okay.
couple characters that I missed. And um where the hell is Lady Sif?
Yes, Sif
Is
is
Jamie
nowhere to be
Alexander
found.
busy with that show she's doing? Or
I
do we
think
not
I
care
think that's
about
what it is. I think that's pretty much what it is. Is she's just too busy with other projects to reprise her role. Um, because speaking of characters reprising roles, Jane Foster, all of Natalie Portman's
her? Mhm.
scenes were cutting room footage from
Yeah.
Dark World.
Yeah, it looked like it
Yeah,
was. Yeah.
yeah. She only reprised.
One shot that might have been one or two shots that might have been a stand-in too.
Yeah, but she provided some voice work.
Oh, did
Like
she
one of the scenes she had to actually speak, but they didn't have
Yeah.
audio for
Rocket's
that.
like,
So
I
she
stabbed
actually,
her with the gizmo off camera because we couldn't get Natalie Portman. It's fine. It's all fine.
yeah. But yeah, so yeah, Sif was gone.
I was
We
also
already knew
kind
the
of
Warriors 3 were dead,
well, they're
so
dead.
we
I
never
was
got
kind
to
of
see
surprised
them.
Nakia didn't show up at the end too from Black Panther.
Who?
Nakia,
Oh,
uh,
um,
T'Challa's "Will You Be My
girlfriend.
Queen?" Yeah, her.
Yeah, yeah, she didn't show up. Um, uh, um, uh, the executioner guy, I forget his name. Did he die at the end
He
of
died. Yeah.
the Ragnarok? Okay, I couldn't remember if he died or not, but
Chaos
yeah,
says he heard something about Sif being confirmed dead. Well, I mean, if she got
she
snapped,
died off
she should have
screen
come back. But
because
I mean, did she
yeah, it
die off camera? She was just Netflix and chilling at home on Asgard. Didn't really realize the whole place was under attack and blew up when Surtur uh,
yeah.
killed it. So
Yeah.
you,
All right. So yeah, Sif was gone. Natalie Portman barely showed back up.
it's not like I expected Darcy or anyone to be running around
Yeah,
at the very end, but Sif and Nakia were pretty. I
pretty
mean,
big. Yeah,
omissions. I was kind of surprised they weren't there somewhere.
yeah, but I think they kind of replaced Sif with Valkyrie anyways.
You can have.
Narrative
I'm
wise,
glad her
but you
horse.
can have both. Yeah,
I don't
definitely.
know where she got
Um,
her horse, but I'm glad she did because that was pretty badass.
yeah,
She
because
rides that horse like Aquaman rides a seahorse.
yeah,
Doesn't just straddle it, surfs on it.
yeah,
Pretty
but
awesome.
I do know Sif was in an episode of Agents of Shield.
Yes,
She showed up in one of those because she was hunting somebody, the bad guy of the week.
I think she was
That one.
hunting like the enchantress's niece or something. Not actually the enchantress, but
Yeah,
like her cousin or something.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, um,
It's like in case we actually want to do enchantress, we're not locked into an actor.
yeah. But yeah, so the my first thing was I was not expecting them to open up with Hawkeye losing his family. I was expecting that to be like a flashback,
Hmm,
like him telling Black Widow and Captain America why he became Ronin or something.
yeah.
Uh, but no, they open up the film. That's like you get the Marvel thing, and then Hawkeye's playing archery with his daughter and having a picnic with his family, and
All on
then
house
he,
arrest.
yeah, while on house arrest, he turns around and to do something, and everybody disappears. And he is just like running all over the place. He trying to find his family, and man, that choked me up. And I'm like, man, you guys are opening up with a freaking gut punch.
Mm.
What else do you have planned here? Because I was not expecting that at all. And oh
Oh
man,
boy,
yeah, I teared up for that one.
it's another kind of interesting way it was shot because unless you know what to look for, if you didn't see the previous film, you wouldn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, because his daughter shoots an arrow and gets a bullseye, and he's like yelling at his wife. It's like because dinner's almost ready, and he tells his daughter
Yelling
to
at
go.
his wife like, "We'll be there in a minute, honey," not yelling.
Yeah,
In case I was wondering.
but yeah, and so he sends his daughter to retrieve her arrow, and he looks at his wife. He turns around, and you see this little dust cloud floating away, and he's just
Right.
like, "Where'd you go?" And then he turns around back to his family to thinking, oh, she might have already ran over to the table or something, and it's like nobody's at the table. And I'm just like, oh man, that sucks. And as a father, it's like if my family
How bad?
disappeared, yeah, I'd probably go ninja and kill a bunch of bad guys too. Yeah, because yeah, that's some serious messed up stuff.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah, that scene got me.
that one
I
got
was not
bad.
expecting that. Um, Goodness.
What did you think of Professor Hulk?
Professor Hulk. Another thing I wasn't quite expecting, but I was glad to see it. It's like once I
Yeah,
realized what they did, I was just like, that makes sense for his character. He
it feels
got
like
his
that would have been the conclusion of a movie rather than it's like we skipped a movie.
yeah.
I mean, it worked, but.
And as he explained it, the Hulk got his butt kicked by Thanos. Bruce Banner got his butt kicked by Thanos. It's
so
like
to speak. Yeah,
we finally worked it out. It's like we got to work together to make anything happen, and that's the 5 years. So the movie does a flash forward of 5 years, but and that's when we see Professor Hulk, and he's just like, over these years we came to an agreement and a conclusion, and we've worked it all out, and I Hulk body, Banner brain, everything's good.
yeah. The scene that first got me a little misty-eyed, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the first one I started tearing up at was when Scott finally gets out of the quantum realm after 5 years and goes to his house and finds his daughter, but she's now like 17 years old or something like that.
Yeah, she's a teenager, and
Their
yeah, that
their
was
reunion that had me tearing up a bit.
yeah, and that had me. Yeah, that was another gut puncher because she, apparently, her mom and stepdad were dusted because we don't see them at all in the film. Not even at the end, which is really weird because it's like, at the end when everybody's all happy and it's Scott
Yeah,
and Janet
yeah,
and
Scott and
or not Janet.
Janet and
Yeah,
or
Janet.
Hope.
Hope, sorry,
It's
yeah,
Scott and Hope,
Scott, Hope, and then
but
Scott's
Judy
daughter,
Greer and
yeah, Judy Greer and what's his
what's the
face, yeah,
the new husband's name?
yeah, I forget
Yeah,
forget
him
his name, but
and the
they're nowhere to be seen, and I'm just like, could they just not reprise their roles for this film or something for like that one a 1 minute scene? I wouldn't blame them if they didn't want to show back up for 1 minute, but it just seemed kind of weird that they were just nowhere to be seen before or after the undusting.
yeah.
Um,
Chaos brings up an interesting. He says Hulk disappointed me a little bit. I really wanted to see him beat the crap out of someone, and he never did. That's true. There isn't much Hulk smash in this movie, but there is mainly because Banner's just he's in the body, but he doesn't
yeah,
have that rage. But they do flash back to the original Battle for New York and Avengers, and they show an alternate angle of Hulk smashing, and it's hilarious.
yeah, it is.
He like hits a Chitauri over the head with a car, and then just keeps jumping on the car. It's like, oh my god, dude, you got him.
Oh
That
no,
was
that
pretty
was
great.
but they did a little bit of Hulk smash with Professor Hulk, and it was hilarious because it was
They
kind
threw
of a
revenge.
reluctant thing,
Oh, the right, where he's like,
and he
"Arr,
was just like,
uh."
yeah, because they're like, okay, we gotta not draw attention to ourselves, so Hulk smash, and he's like, oh, do I have to? And he's like, and they're like, yes, you gotta stay in character. He's like, okay, flip a car, punch it. It was
That
hilarious.
was pretty good. But I
Yeah.
get what Chaos is saying. You have Hulk in a movie, you want to
You
see
gotta
Hulk smash.
smash something. Yeah, I agree with you
But
there.
watching him have a heart to heart with Tilda Swinton was pretty great.
Yeah, that
I
was a
love
good
the
scene
idea
too.
that she was there, picking off some Chitauri as they flew above the
The
source
sanctum. Yeah.
sanctum. That was that was pretty cool. And I love the thought. He's like, I need to talk to Doctor Strange. He's like, you're about 5 years early.
Yeah, I thought
His
that
movie
was
hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. It's like he's across town performing brain surgery right now, and I'm just like, oh, I guess that does make sense.
Yeah.
But
Great to see
yeah, okay,
that character again, though.
yeah. So going back to the beginning of the film, so after Hawkeye's family gets dusted, we cut to the Avengers in the Avengers, not I want to call it mansion, but it's not really a mansion. The base,
Headquarters, HQ.
home base, HQ, yeah. And they're like, you got Rocket there, you got Nebula,
Oh,
or
that was kind of Captain Marvel just happens to find him floating around in space and saves him. I'm like, well,
yeah. Well,
okay.
I'm assuming I'm connecting the dots here because we got the end of Captain Marvel, the after credits scene where she shows up it's like, where's Fury, because of the pager thing.
Mhm.
And so I'm assuming at some point
They're like,
they're like,
could you go look for Tony? He
yeah,
hasn't
could you
come
go
back
find our guy?
yet.
And
Yeah,
yeah, and so she
maybe.
finds them and brings them home. Yeah, compound. Yeah, the Avengers compound.
Sure.
So we got Tony and Nebula back, and all the rest of the Avengers are like, trying to figure out how to get Thanos back, or how to find Thanos and get the stones back, and they find the same kind of energy signature surge or whatever on
Mm.
another planet, and they just all jump into the now
They
fixed.
hop on a ship and they go kick his ass.
Yeah, and they just go right there, and they find
Great.
Thanos, and he's like half burned and just kind of limping around, and they just all like they jump him as he's sitting down for
Just
breakfast or
arm
whatever,
and some
and
spiky papayas or something like
yeah,
that.
they all jump him. Thor chops his arm off. They find out that he doesn't have the Infinity Stones and that he
The one
used
with
their
the
powers.
gauntlet on it. Yeah.
Yeah, the one with the gauntlet on it. He doesn't. The stones aren't there. It's like, what did you do with them? And he's like, I used their power to destroy them, and because the temptation would be too great to change what I did, and everybody's just like, why? And then Thor chops his head off, and I'm like, just like,
I'm
we're
for
not
the
even
head.
30 minutes into this film, and Thanos is dead. What in the world do you
Yeah.
have planned for us?
And
Oh,
for the next act, it's pretty much the Avengers in therapy.
yeah, it's like 5 years later.
How they're
Uh,
all doing. Yeah.
how they're all doing. Tony's off in solitude with his family, and
Tony and Pepper start a family.
yeah, they have a daughter. Hawkeye is now Ronin, and he's just going around and killing any street gang he can find, because it's just like, my family got dusted and you thugs are still around. I'm gonna kill you myself.
Mm.
And that's literally what he's doing. He's just like, criminal scum don't deserve to have survived that snap. And Black Widow is holding down the Avengers thing. She's working with um,
Yeah.
Rocket, Nebula, Captain Marvel. Um, uh, sorry, the from Black Panther. I can't remember her name now.
Okoye.
Okoye, yeah, and War Machine. That's pretty much who's the Avengers at this point. Everybody else is just kind of off doing their own thing. And
I still love the fact that Captain Marvel is like, okay, you guys hold down the fort here on Earth. I'll just cover the
the
rest
rest of
of
the
the
universe.
galaxy. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Um, you know, um, Rocket and Nebula are doing something together. Doing whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
Okoye is pretty much just taking care of, is ruling Wakanda at this point, because it's like nobody else is around to rule Wakanda.
And
Uh,
Thor, after losing his mom, then his dad,
his
then his
brother,
brother, then then Asgard, then half of
then
the
half of the
Asgardians,
survivors.
and the
Yeah,
other half of the Asgardians essentially crawled into a bottle over the last 5 years and has been just hiding in a hole, drinking himself to death and playing
yeah,
video games with Korg and Meek.
yeah, and so a couple of surprising things from there is that one, it doesn't look like New Asgard is in Oklahoma, so that's comics inaccurate. Um, I was very disappointed that it was not in Oklahoma. I'm sorry, Russo brothers. You put New Asgard in the wrong freaking place.
1 out of 10 stars.
Yeah, but um, but yeah, and Thor is just the the poster child of depression.
Yeah.
He has
He is not handling it at all, and
no.
no one's helping him. I mean,
Well,
Korg and Meek are like there
they're
for
there,
him, but they're
but
not really. They're enabling his drinking and other vices.
they're not, they're not emotionally supportive. They're just hanging out with him,
Yeah.
and which is, I guess it's fitting in character with them, but yeah, they're just not the greatest of friends, I don't think. But yeah, Thor is fat. He's let his hair grow out. He's completely unkempt and drunk all the time. He uses Stormbreaker to open beer bottles now. And yeah, he's all around a mess, and I was kind of sad to see that, and it's completely understandable from his character
Yeah.
arc, but it's still sad to see. It's like, man, this guy once took out the an invincible living armor, and now he's yelling at little kids in Fortnite.
It is still going after
Yeah,
the 5 years
5 years,
after half the
5 years.
population left.
Yeah,
Makes you wonder if who's behind Fortnite? It's Epic, right?
it's epic. Yeah,
Makes you wonder if Epic is like crunching the half of the.
yeah,
You
half of
lost
their
half of your
workforce.
family. Well, half of the workforce is gone. You keep these servers up and running. You're gonna work
Uh,
120-hour weeks.
yeah,
Nice,
exactly.
nice to see that the crunch is still around.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, still playing Fortnite 5 years later. Yeah.
yeah. But
Um,
uh, but yeah, it was very sad to see him that way. Um, but he does have some great emotional growth throughout the film,
it
and
is. What
which
I
is
like is
nice. And
he realizes that the path that everyone expected him to take, essentially be king of
become
Asgard,
king. Yeah,
he realizes that that's not his path, and
yeah,
there are
yeah.
people much better suited to the job than he.
Yeah. He realized that his path is the path of a hero, not a king, and that's what he needed to be.
I
And
think there were two really big moments for me, and one was, I think, a bit understated. One is obviously him making a Valkyrie the Queen of Asgard, but the
yeah,
other one was him relinquishing the hammer, Mjolnir. That I mean, it's a short, flippant moment. He says, "No, you take the little one,"
yeah,
um, but that's him giving up Mjolnir.
yeah.
He's letting go of
Of
everything
that
he was
past, yeah,
expected to be,
because
and he's not completely where he needs to be, but he's moving in that direction, and I thought that
yeah,
was really cool to see.
that was a really cool scene, and this goes hand in hand with okay. We haven't mentioned this yet, but the movie revolves around time travel. Time travel through the quantum realm. That's what Ant-Man brings to the equation, and so they have to go back in time to find Infinity Stones, and in order to get the Reality Stone, Thor and Rocket go back to Thor: The Dark World, and they have to get it from Jane Foster, and then Thor, r- remembering that this was the day his mother dies, sneaks off in the hopes to warn her, and and she just tells him off. She's just like, I'm a witch. I knew you were here. I know you're not the Thor from this time, and I know something's going to happen,
Hmm.
and I don't want you telling me about it. She's just like, she knew what her fate was, and she knew there was nothing to stop it, and she let Thor know that that was okay. And that heart to heart between Thor and his mom was just
Yeah,
so great. And
great to
and
see
that
some of the original characters getting that closure. Thor with his mom, Tony Stark with his dad.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. Although it was a little odd to me in that Thor: The Dark World revisit that Thor didn't cast so much as a sidelong glance at his recently dead brother. Again, probably not
yeah,
enough room in the movie for it, but even just
yeah,
a look as he walks by would have been something, you know?
yeah, it would have been. But yeah, but still, and after Thor talks to his mother and she explains, it's like, you know, make your own path, become your own person. And he finally realizes, that maybe that's what he needs to do. And then he reaches out, and Rocket's like, "Hey, I got
Yeah.
the Infinity Stone," and he's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "It takes a minute,"
He's like,
and
sometimes it takes a minute.
yeah,
That was good too.
that was a good line. And then Mjolnir flies into his hand. He's like,
I
I'm
still got
still
it.
worthy. And it's just like, that's a wake up call to him, because he thinks he's not worthy, because he lost the hammer. He had no way of gauging his worthiness after all of Infinity War happened.
Mm.
And but just to have that chat with his
That confirmation
mom,
there, yeah.
and that confirmation from the hammer just completely turned him around. He became an all new man at that point, and it was great. Um,
It got him over one hump at least. I
yeah,
mean,
one hump. Yeah,
he's still got a ways to go, but he's working towards it, and that's really cool to see.
yeah.
Um, we've alluded to it a little bit, but oh my God, how cool was it with Steve Rogers thrown down with Mjolnir?
Oh
That
man, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
another thing that this movie doesn't set up that only Thor can pick up the hammer. Uh, if you have not seen, especially like Age of Ultron, you would probably not understand what. I don't get it. Why
yeah.
can he
Because
suddenly use lightning?
so going back to Age of Ultron, you have there's this scene where they're all in Stark Tower, Avengers Tower, or whatever it is at that point, and they're just drinking, having a good time, and then everybody starts trying to lift the hammer, because they're like trying to figure out how it works.
Mhm.
And is it DNA encoded, is it fingerprints, or what? And everybody's trying to do it. It's like Tony and War Machine both have their gauntlets on, trying to use jets to lift it up and everything. And then Steve Rogers walks up to it, and he goes to lift it, and you see this barely perceptible budge, and Thor's just like, what the crap? And Steve's just like, oh, you got me there. And everybody's just having a good time.
Mhm.
And then in the final fight with Thanos, Thanos is about to split Thor down the middle with Stormbreaker, and then out of nowhere, Mjolnir flies and smacks Thanos across the head, and then it flies back, and there's Captain America, shield in his arm, and Mjolnir in the other hand, and Thor's just like, I knew it. And then you see this really cool fight scene with Captain America throwing
That's a great
down.
piece of and something I talked
Yeah,
about earlier. It's a great piece of growth for Thor too, in that he's accepting of that.
yeah, he's accepting that other
And,
people can use
he
this
has
thing. Yeah,
that moment later where he literally passes it on. He's yeah, you take the small one, but he's
yeah.
passing it on to Steve
And
Rogers.
yeah, to Captain America, and it's a really good fight. It's one of the best fight scenes. Of course, you see the Steve Rogers, the Captain America shield gets broken during the fight, and everything, but Captain America just gets right back up, tightens the straps on this half broken shield, and continues to fight. Despite the fact that he's just getting his butt kicked, and yeah, it's just some excellent character building there.
The
But
final fight, the last 45 minutes of the movie,
yeah,
um, I think the Russo brothers did a very nice job. It could have been better, but I think overall they did a very nice job with this fight in comparison to other big fights even in Infinity War, which is just kind of a jumbled mess, and you're not sure
yeah, it's just big
geography.
CGI army versus CGI
Right.
army and everything.
This is another big battle with big CGI armies, but you have a much better sense of geography, where people are and where they're trying to get, but also
Yeah,
what the overall goal of the fight is. Like, what do we need to do? Where are people trying to get to, and what are they trying to do? That's a
yeah,
lot more clear in this particular
yeah, and they
fight scene, and that's one
yeah,
reason it works so well.
yeah, exactly. And they also, instead of like at the end of Infinity War, where it was just all these zoomed out shots of Wakandans fighting generic alien monsters.
Hmm.
We had a lot of that there, but in this one it was a lot of zoomed in. Spider-Man's fighting, Iron Man's fighting, Captain America's fighting, Black Panther showed up. Now he's fighting. They do all these things, but each individual shot, each individual fight plays towards that end goal of getting the stones um, to the portal, to send them back in time, and yeah, because it's just that was the goal of the fight, and they needed to get it, and they needed to make it happen, and so every shot, every character was working towards that end goal,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it worked. Yeah,
It's essentially a game of football. We need to get the football from one end of the field to the other end of the field with the opposing team trying to stop us from doing that. Extraordinarily clear what was trying to happen.
yeah,
And they're passing the football between the different characters, which gives multiple characters a chance to do really neat things.
yeah.
So,
So, but but going back earlier in the film when they were going after all of the Infinity Stones, so they made the decision that they had to get all six Infinity Stones, but they had to split up in different teams, and they're trying to figure out when to go to get them, and somebody makes the suggestion. It's like, depending on, or it was Black Widow. She's like, depending on what year it is, there three stones were in New York, and and that's at the Battle of New York in Avengers. You
mhm.
had the Tesseract, you had Loki's scepter, and then you had the
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 mind,
Eye of Agamotto at the Sanctum
which they
Sanctorum.
figured Doctor Strange had, which is why they didn't
Yeah,
realize Doctor Strange wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme at that point.
yeah, and so they figured, there's the Sanctum Sanctorum, and so they go back. Hulk, Iron Man, and Captain America go back to the Battle of New York. Thor and Rocket go to
Ant
um,
Man, not
Ant Man.
Iron Man.
Was it? Huh?
It's
Oh, it was
Iron Man, Captain America, Ant Man, and on Hulk.
okay. Yeah, so Ant Man was there. Um, so Rocket and Thor go to Thor: The Dark World. Um, Gamora, or not Gamora, Nebula and
Hawkeye.
well, no, Nebula and War Machine go
Oh,
to
right.
Guardian. Well, it's like
Yeah. Well,
Nebula, War Machine, Hawkeye, and Black Widow all go to Guardians of the Galaxy
and then
1. Hawkeye and
go
Widow
off
split off to go to
to
Vormir. Yeah,
Vormir.
Vormir, and Nebula and War Machine go to whatever planet it was that Quill found the orb.
Which is great because they redo the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy with them dancing to whatever song that is, and they play the song.
Come and get your love.
That one. Then they have Star Lord dancing around, and then they cut over to War Machine
Nebu-
and Nebula
and Nebula, and they're
without the
watching him.
music. Just watching this jackass dancing around it is hilarious.
It is hilarious. It's Morag, yeah. So that was a hilarious scene. But yeah, they knock Star Lord out. They get the stone,
Although I don't
and
know why War Machine or Nebula, whichever one it is, kicks one of those little creatures. I guess they're just really kickable creatures.
I guess, yeah,
If you see them,
they're like little
you're just
lizard
inspired to kick
rats.
them.
Yeah, you just want to kick them. But yeah, so going back to the Battle of New York, and we already talked about Thor: The Dark World, all the interesting stuff about that, but the Battle of New York had some great scenes, and
Oh,
and it's just hilarious watching everybody talk about Captain America's butt. And
I love it. It's like that suit is not flattering to your ass at all.
yeah, and then but so
Man, like, are you kidding? That is America's ass.
yeah, oh man, that was great.
And then
But
Captain America fights the Captain America that was there, and
yeah,
goes, you know what? That is America's ass.
yeah. Yes, that was great. Seeing Captain America kick Captain America's butt. It was
Yeah.
an excellent fight scene. They did some great shots, great choreography. You couldn't tell that one of them was a stunt actor, and half
Yeah,
the
it
time,
was
and
really well put together.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
it's
very
clear
well
how
put
they did
together.
have
So,
one of them in a mostly face obscuring helmet, which
yeah,
helped, but still, it was done really, really well.
yeah, it was,
I love
and
it. I can do this all day. It's like, yeah, I know.
yeah, so it's a more grizzled Captain America fighting his younger, more optimistic self was just great, and but my favorite scene from that, and I think it's my favorite scene of the entire movie, was when Captain America was yeah, but it was Captain America was going after the scepter, and the scepter was given to one of the Shield guys. Um, I forget his name, but he was the bald guy with the glasses, and but he's getting in the elevator with Crossbones,
Mhm.
and then a bunch of other goons, and Captain America just waltzes right into the elevator with them, and you
Sitwell.
think, yeah, Sitwell, yeah, um, but and so he gets in there,
You
and
think they're gonna redo the fight from
exactly the yeah, Winter Soldier elevator fight. It's like that's what it makes it look like, and I'm just like, oh, this is going to be awesome, and I'm like, I wonder how they're going to play this out, and then Captain America's just like, I've been told to take the scepter, and I got to deliver it to whoever in person, and they're like, are you sure? And then he just leans over to Sitwell, Hail Hydra, and grabs the case the scepter's in and gets off the elevator, and everybody in the elevator is just like,
on his face.
what the and everybody's just like, whoa, what in the world? The Captain America is Hydra too? it I laughed at that scene.
And
That
he has this
was
smug little look on his face, like, man, if that was like the last panel of a comic book, the fan sees its shit.
yeah. And but that was I consider that my favorite scene of the movie, because that was just great. It was an awesome reference to Winter Soldier, and 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 it just was completely by surprise, and stuff. But yeah, and then
I,
there was
I
and there
like
was
Paul
immediately,
complaining about the stairs. So many
yeah.
stairs
I half expected Hulk to just jump down the
down
center
the
of the
center. Yeah.
stairs, but no, he marches down all of the stairs and gets down to the bottom of the stairs and throws open the door and knocks Tony across the room when Tony's trying to steal the Tesseract, and it was great.
So much.
Uh,
I mean, this movie is almost wall to wall pandering fan service, but I don't care because I'm a fan and it's
and
pandering
it,
to
yeah,
me.
pandering to me, yeah. Uh, but yeah, and so they
Pander.
don't get so
Shower
they
me
don't get the
with your pandering.
Tesseract at that time, and so Tony and
Because Loki takes it and leaves.
yeah, it gets knocked out of the case, and everybody's distracted, and Loki's just like, "Ooh, Tesseract!" Picks it up and just pops through a portal, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Um, and so they don't get the Tesseract, and so they have to go back further in time to the '70s, and steal it from a Shield base. And that's where Tony has the heart to heart with his dad, and Tony's just, what did he call himself? I forget.
Howard Potts.
Yeah, Howard Potts. That's right. Um, yeah, and then Captain America is just sneaking around and trying. Yes, so Captain America has to get Pym particles because they used up their last Pym particles to get to the '70s, so they had to steal more from Hank Pym. And so Captain America was doing that. Tony was getting the Tesseract, and while Captain America was doing that, he ends up in Peggy's office, Peggy Carter's office, and sees her. Doesn't get to talk to her, but he sees her through a window, and that gets his gears going.
Yeah.
For the end of the movie.
What was pretty great too is Howard Stark. His driver was Jarvis, and it was the same actor who played Jarvis in the Peggy Carter show.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that
James
was
Darcy or something like that. I
yeah,
forget the gentleman's name, but same guy. It was pretty great to see.
yeah. So that was cool to see Jarvis get his due, and because he was a great actor in that show. I liked him in that
I
show.
really like the Agent
I
Carter
liked his
series.
character.
I'm very sad that it was only 2 seasons.
Me too. Yeah, it should have.
And speaking of characters, we mentioned Sif and Nakia don't show up. How cool it would have been if at the end Jessica Jones and Daredevil and Punisher and Iron Fist and Luke Cage all stepped through.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'd be like, I don't know what we're doing here, but let's punch stuff. Whatever,
Yeah, that would have been cool. But yeah,
I think probably Netflix would have sued Disney. I think there's something like you can't use these characters for 2 years, or at
yeah,
least this version of these characters. I think there's some legal
yeah.
restriction.
There's a
Would
2 year
not do that,
moratorium on
but
those
yeah,
characters. Uh,
which
yeah,
that would have just been more cool, you know.
it would have been. Yeah. Let's see.
Especially with
Okay.
the that A team kind of stand up where they got all the female characters there except Sif and Nakia and Jessica Jones,
Yeah.
which was
So
silly in a way because Captain America's like, I appreciate it, but I'm way more powerful than all of you have got this.
yeah.
But I
Um,
don't have a flying unicorn horse, and that's pretty badass.
yeah. And then Howard the Duck was in a blink and you'll miss him
Was he?
kind of
That's
shot.
great. He's been in a few, been in there a little bit. I think this would
Yeah,
be his fourth appearance.
I think
He's
so.
like no, third. He's in the background and the extra credit scene of Guardians. He's in Guardians 2. Has a couple lines in there. I think he's at the brothel place.
Yeah.
Um, so this might be his third appearance, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
But
I
yeah.
guess
So
that's what a show that's going to be on Hulu or something. Aren't they doing a Howard the Duck?
something like that. I think
Yeah.
somebody's doing a Howard the Duck. But okay, so the Soul Stone. Let's go back to the Soul Stone. This was
Okay, I'm unclear on the rules of getting the Soul Stone. Watching Infinity War, the rule was you have to sacrifice what you love most. Is it just what you love most in this general area, or is that just a flowery way as a soul for a soul someone has to die? And if that's the case, could you just chuck Red Skull off the cliff and get the Soul Stone? Would that work?
mm,
I mean, he seems to
he can
float a little
fly,
bit, so
I think. But
I don't know. I think if you threw him off the cliff, he'd just kind of hover there. I don't know, but
he's like, "What are you doing?"
I don't know.
Um,
It's like, okay, we're time traveling. Let's leave and go grab some jerk and drag him up here and throw him off the cliff.
yeah, yeah. That was. I think that's going to be a general plot hole that everybody's going to complain about. But yeah, so Hawkeye and Black Widow are on Vormir. And they're talking to Cap or to Red Skull. They don't know who he is. They just know he's this weird dude that's hanging out at the top of this little mountain. And but so they're trying to figure out how they're going to get the Soul Stone, and dawns on them both that one of them is going to have to commit suicide. They're going to have to sacrifice themselves so the other one can get the thing back. And you know, Hawkeye's all going, well, my family's gone. I have nothing to live for, so let me do it. And Black Widow's like, look,
Yeah,
I
but
don't
your
have a
family's coming
family.
back, so
Your family, if this works, your family can come back. But even if it works, there's nothing really for me other than the Avengers. At least let me sacrifice myself for my family, that sort of thing. And they have a nice little fight, and each of them is trying to throw themselves off the cliff while the other one's trying to stop the other one so they could jump off the cliff. And it's a really good fight scene.
yeah.
I really enjoyed it, even though it was freaking heartbreaking the entire time. But eventually, they're dangling off the cliff, and Hawkeye's trying to pull Black Widow up, and she's just like, "See ya," and knocks herself free and
Yeah.
goes flying, and then Hawkeye wakes up in that pool of water with the Soul Stone in his hand.
And I think that
And
scene would have been more effective had the character been more of a character and
yeah,
had more of an internal life rather than being there just to support the other characters throughout the franchise. Because while I felt bad, the emotion of the scene worked. I think it could have been
worked better.
been
Yeah,
more effective, just as the scene is, had the character been better treated throughout the rest of the. And I don't mean that in a sense of mistreated, but handled better as a
yeah,
character and how she works through narratives in the entire franchise. That could have been even more impactful. But
definitely.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
or
but
they could also go back in time and just grab her from somewhere.
yeah, of course.
Because you
Uh,
imagine Loki will show up somewhere.
yeah, well, Loki has a TV series planned, so
Oh, that's right. The Disney Plus, is that what they're
yeah,
calling it?
Disney
Disney
Plus.
Plus.
Yeah,
Oh, and they've got a Loki show, they've got a WandaVision show, and they've
yeah.
got a
Apparently, the WandaVision one's going to be taking place in the 50s, so I don't know how that's going to work.
50s. Or
Yeah,
either they're doing time travel shenanigans, or they're doing a thing where, because in the comics at least, Scarlet Witch can like make alternate realities. So maybe she just makes a reality where she and Vision can be together.
yeah.
Of course, that usually backfires in the books. But if you say 50s, that kind of reminds me of the recent Vision series where Vision created a family of his own. Did
Yeah,
you
I've
know what I'm
seen
talking
that one. I haven't read it yet, but yeah. Um, but yeah, that's a really interesting. I wanted to read it, but it's just like I'm not much of a comic guy, and so it's like I don't know where I would go to get the full
about?
series. Maybe I can find the graphic novel when it's
Yeah,
all
I think
released.
I think that one is done. I think it's
Yeah.
complete. Chaos says would have been more of a gut punch if Hawkeye died and you had to see Nat react to his death and then tell his family what happened to him. You know that it would have been something for the character to do at least. Now she's responsible for a family, or is it? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't
You
know.
got an interesting take on that, Chaos.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting take, but I don't think that. I think that would have. I don't think that would have gone over very well with the fans. But
Mm,
yeah, but uh, but on the other side of the galaxy, at the same time, um, Nebula's Wi-Fi connects to the
yeah,
network that her past self is connected to, and they get their wires crossed, and Thanos finds
you know
out
what
that
that means?
future
It means
Nebula is
Nebula has not changed her Wi-Fi password in 7 damn years.
yeah.
Or however long it's been since Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy.
So because of that, Thanos finds out that that future Nebula is helping the Avengers to gather the stones before he can, and that starts the a whole thing where Thanos captures her, has past Nebula take her place and infiltrate the Avengers,
Mhm.
uses the Pym particles that he got from her to I guess he recreates them or something so that he can send his entire army into the future because it's really unclear on that. But I
I
assume
think
that he
she
used
opens the portal for him to come in or something like that, if I'm remembering right.
I don't know, something along those lines. But yeah, that's right. She does. She uses that the Avengers time portal to create a large enough portal for Thanos and his army to come through. But yeah, so that was kind of cool. And then you have future Nebula talking to past Gamora, who's still working with Thanos,
Hmm.
and convinces her to betray Thanos. And then they join forces and then have to take out past Nebula, and Nebula shoots herself,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's metaphorically, it's like killing a past version of yourself or closing
Yeah, it's
a
like
chapter of your life.
yeah,
Uh,
closing that chapter on your life
but
type
there was,
thing.
her past Nebula's final line is a helpless cry of he Thanos won't let me uh in the context won't let me go or won't let me change or I
Yeah,
can't she's not where she needs to be at, and it's utterly tragic that she had to kill an old version of herself rather than
yeah,
do something like Hulk and Banner did and come together to a greater good kind of a thing.
yeah. And I think she it's character growth for her because yeah, it's like her closing her chapter, kind of like it kind of mirrors Thor's path in a way, where
Mm,
Thor has to come to terms with who he is and who he's going to become.
mm,
Future Nebula, or I guess present Nebula, has to come to terms with who she is and let go of who she used to be, and by killing her old self, she finally lets that go and is able to move forward with her life, and it's just it's a character building moment, and it's a slightly tragic, but also a good growth moment for her.
Yeah.
And so you see her and Gamora, past Gamora, show up at in the A Force
Battle, right.
scene, and they're in the A Force scene and helping Captain Marvel get the gauntlet across. And so yeah, it's some pretty good stuff
And
from
Gamora's like, really, this guy? And Nebula says, yeah, it was either him or a tree.
there. Yeah, speaking of Peter Quill and how they fell in love.
He's like, Gamora, you're alive! Hugs and kisses, and she knees him in the junk because she never met the guy.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. It's gonna be really interesting to see how Guardians 3 or as Guardians of the Galaxy if Thor is still with them,
Yeah, Thor gets his way.
trying to get Gamora back.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Gamora just kind of disappears from the end of the film.
Hmm.
So at the end of the battle, before the battle, Hulk dons the Tony gauntlet,
Oh shoot!
and
I hope she didn't get dusted along with the rest of
yeah,
Thanos'
so
army.
but Hulk dons the gauntlet and brings back everybody that was dusted,
Right.
and then that triggers the final battle.
And he said
And
he has a throwaway line later. He says, "I tried to bring back Black Widow, but it didn't work."
yeah, something along those. Yeah, he
So,
mentions that. But so they have this big final fight scene. They're trying to get the gauntlet to the van portal, and so that they can get it out of the battle,
so that they
and
can get
so
the
they can
stones
return the
back
stones
in the
back.
timeline where they belong, so they don't destroy
Yeah,
the universe.
but during the battle, Thanos ends up with the gauntlet,
Mhm.
and he's trying to use it because he's going to dust the entire universe and start over fresh.
Right.
And so they have this fight scene, and Tony's fighting him, and grabs the gauntlet, and Thor or Thanos kicks his butt, and Thanos goes to snap everything away, and it doesn't work. And he looks at the gauntlet, and all the stones are gone. And then you see Tony lying on the ground, and all the stones just kind of slide up his arm into his
Because
gauntlet.
both it's not Thanos' gauntlet, it's the gauntlet that Tony made out of his nanotech Iron Man stuff. So
Yeah, and yeah, so Tony snaps away, dusts all of Thanos's army and Thanos himself,
mhm.
and but you don't see Gamora ever again in the movie, and so it's like everybody's just left wondering: did Gamora get dusted?
I
Did
think she
she
probably just
go back to the past? Did she run away? Because at the end of the movie, um, you know, Quill is trying to scan the galaxy for her or whatever, and he can't find her anywhere.
mhm.
So he's looking for her, but so he doesn't know if she's still around or not. So that's just kind of one of those big questions that we're left with that will probably get answered in Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
You know,
But
one of my favorite just cool moves in that final battle is when Captain Marvel and Thanos are thrown down, and he's trying to snap, but she's holding his glove in place. And his solution, because she's matching him with strength, he
mhm.
he pulls the Power Stone out of the glove and punches her with it. I'm like, that was a good move. I really
That
like.
was a good
That
move.
was
Yeah.
the only way he could get her off his ass. Because she's on his gauntlet like a vice, and he's like, "No, give me." He's like, "Fine." Boom. I'm like, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good move. Yeah.
I also speaking of someone wailing on him, I love the bit where Scarlet Witch is getting ready to beat his ass into the ground, and she's like, "You took everything from me." It's like, I don't know who you are,
Yeah.
because he hasn't met her yet. He's like, I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know you. So
Ah, man. Yeah. Okay. So I think that pretty much covers everything that happened in the movie up and to the end of the
I think
battle.
we have now spoiled
But
everything in the film. Yes.
yeah, well, except for the very end. Tony dies.
Oh
He
yeah.
he snaps. He dusts his army, and I guess Tony's not. built to survive the
Thanos
power
could
of the
survive it.
stone.
Hulk would have survived it, but
Well,
Tony,
Hulk did survive it, but Tony no. And so he dies, which is sad. And they have a funeral for him, and everybody's there except for Gamora
yeah.
and Sif and
I
yeah,
mean, even the kid from Iron Man 3
yeah. It's like
there.
so it pans over
Hardly.
everybody at this, and you see all these people, you recognize everybody, and it goes to Hawkeye and his
It's grown in
family.
the last 5 years.
Yeah,
Over
but they go to Hawkeye and his family, and then it pans over, and you see Thunderbolt Ross and Maria Hill, and this weird kid standing in front of him. And I'm just like, who is that kid? And it pans off to everybody else. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, who in the world is that kid? And so I had to look that up at the end of the movie. I googled who's
It
that
took me
kid at
it took
Iron
me a bit
Man's.
to figure out. I'm like, who is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, and it's that kid that let Tony fix his suit in his garage in Iron Man 3. And I'm just like, wow, that's a kind of a deep
Deep
cut
cut.
character there. But yeah, but yeah, so we have Tony's funeral, and then it goes to Thor joins the Guardians of the Galaxy.
There's a little mini funeral for Black Widow with Hawkeye and is it Nebula? No, it's not Nebula. It's who the hell's Hawkeye standing on the shore talking to about
oh goodness, I don't was it War Machine?
might be War Machine.
Might have been.
I
I
forget.
don't remember. I forget who that was. But yeah, but Thor gives the kingdom to Valkyrie because she's the born leader.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, he's talking to Wanda because yeah, that's right, because he lost, yeah, because she lost Vision, he lost, yeah,
Wanda.
but yeah, it was Wanda, that's right, because they were bonding over their shared loss of a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, but Thor goes off with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you go back to Professor Hulk, Ant-Man, and Captain America, and they're sending Captain America back in time to return all the stones.
Well,
Bucky and
Bucky
yeah,
and Sam
Sam, yeah, Falcon
Vulture
were there as well.
Falcon. Thank you.
Yeah, they were there as well. And so Captain America goes back in time. He's got all the stones. He's got Thor's hammer
Mm-hmm.
because he's got to return Thor's hammer to Dark World.
Doesn't have to, I suppose, but does anyway. So
Well, he kind of has to because Thor uses that hammer at the end of Dark World, so he's got to get that hammer back somehow.
yeah, but he already used it. So according to the way time travel works in the Marvel universe, it doesn't matter. The Infinity Stones were the only things that really had to go back.
Well, the hammer would have had to gone back too because the hammer disappearing would have created a branching timeline where Thor didn't have his hammer to fight the Dark Elves, so he likely would have lost, and that would have caused universe chaos.
That timeline, that branch wouldn't have started because the Infinity Stones, if they're in their proper place, hold the timeline together so branches can't happen. I think
guess
that's the way it works, but
yeah. But I think the hammer would have been key enough as well to create a branch.
Better, but at the very least, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Cap did not talk with the ancient Tilda Swinton about that, so he didn't know. So he's like, you know what, probably got to take this back too.
Yeah, but yeah, so Captain America goes back, and they're like, well, who knows how long? Thor's like, or Thor, Hulk's just like, no, there's no telling how long it's going to be for him, but it's only going to be a couple of seconds for us. And then starts the sequence to bring Captain America back, and it doesn't work. And he's like, crap, what happened? And they're trying to figure it out, and that's when Bucky and Sam see somebody sitting over by the lake, and they walk over there.
Backing up my interpretation of MCU time travel.
Okay, fine, I yield.
But still, Cap didn't know that because he didn't talk to the Ancient One, so
yeah.
it makes sense.
But yeah, so you see, so Sam and Bucky see somebody sitting over by the lake, and Sam goes over there, and it's old Captain America, and so he took the long way around, Yeah. and
Apparently, he returned the stones and the hammer, and then just hung out with Peggy.
yep, yeah, he well, he doesn't tell Sam who he stayed with because he's wearing a wedding ring, and Sam's just like, "You gonna tell me who she is?" And he's like, "No."
That's true. We would
Yeah,
assume it's Peggy Carter, but who knows? Maybe it
well,
was her niece,
yeah, but
Sharon.
well, yeah, but
Maybe
we
it was
assume it's
both.
Peggy Carter
Maybe it was
because
both, and that's why he didn't want to
oh,
say anything.
yeah,
Ooh.
but but we see at the end of the film, we see Captain America dancing with Peggy Carter, young Peggy Carter. So we assume that that's where he went.
It's heavily implied,
Yeah, but he hands off the shield to Sam, and Sam's
which
the new
is not
Captain America.
earned at all.
Mm, I don't
If
know.
you're, if the,
He
I mean,
pulled his weight in
yeah,
in Winter Soldier and in Civil War. So I
sure,
think
but I think maybe this will be fleshed out in the Sam and Bucky show on Disney Plus coming this fall to a streaming service near you. But that moment doesn't feel earned.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, okay, but why is Sam specifically the next Captain America? I mean, we understand why Cap is worthy of Mjolnir, but we're not really certain why Sam specific. I mean, why not? I mean, the comics, both Bucky and Sam have been Captain America, so it seems kind of arbitrary, which is fine, but it doesn't. It didn't dramatically pay off to me. It was just
yeah,
a thing that happened. If you've watched all the movies, there's really nothing that sets up Sam being the next Captain America. But, whatever.
yeah.
Seems like a selfish move by Cap. Chaos says what he does is out of character for him. Um,
I don't think
eh,
it is. It's just he's at the end of the film, he is just kind of he feels like he's accomplished everything that he's going to do in life, and there's really no place for him left in the world as it is, and the only place that he feels comfortable, that he feels where he's going to be happy for the rest of his life, is back in the 40s or 50s with Peggy Carter. I just it is a little bit of it is a little bit selfish, but you got to think,
I think he's
it's
earned it.
his selflessness is what in caused him to end up in the future anyways,
True.
and he was pretty much selfless for every single film after Captain America: The First Avenger, and I think he earned some me time. I think
Hmm.
he earned a little bit of selfishness.
Yeah, but 50 years of selfishness. I mean, come on, Tony. Have a dance with Peggy and come on back. You got.
Yeah.
uh,
Did she marry
well,
somebody though? Because I don't believe they had
uh,
any kids. At least,
I think so. I don't remember, but my interpretation of the way the time travel thing works is this would have been a branching path as long as Steve is in it. But as soon as he reconnects with the main timeline, uh, that path goes away because the Infinity Stones are where they're supposed to be. So it only branches insofar as to the future people are actually in there. Once he gets back to, like, for example, if Professor Hulk and um, not Rhodey, Sam and Bucky had looked to their left, Cap wouldn't have been sitting there the entire time because he's not in their timeline yet. He would have just kind of blinked into existence. He was only,
yeah,
from their perspective, he was only over there for a couple seconds.
yeah,
And from Cap's perspective, in the timeline he lived through, they probably didn't do all that stuff, so he was just sitting on a bench waiting for them to pop in, waiting for those two timelines to come back together. And once they did, I think that branching path went away. So, in a
yeah,
sense, there were two Peggy Carters. There was one in the main timeline, and then there was one in that branching timeline that Cap was in. So,
yeah.
yeah, he
Do
did
you
deny
think in
the
that?
second Peggy whatever life she had in the main timeline, but oh
Do you
well.
think in that branching timeline he cleaned out the Hydra agents from Shield before they caused any real damage, and all
like
the
he
other
smashed the Arnim Zola computer or something.
yeah,
I,
like
I,
yeah,
I would think that he probably at least told Peggy,
yeah,
and they fixed it, and you know, maybe that timeline was really awesome and world peace, yay. But it kind of got erased as soon as he rejoined the main timeline. Hard to say,
maybe.
but
Hard to say.
it gives the writers opportunities for a lot of what if stories. It's like
Yeah,
what happened in that 50 years or however long it was. Well, actually, it would have been like 70 years. Steve is old.
yeah, he's very old.
But
Yeah, but
okay, now
I
have
think
spoiled everything.
yeah, I think we've spoiled everything. I think we left no stone unturned.
Yeah,
Um, at least as far as I can think. I'm sure we missed a couple of spoilers here and
yeah.
there,
We
but
didn't talk about Hulk getting pissy and throwing a bench at one point.
yeah,
Wasn't exactly smashy, but he did
yeah.
throw a bench.
But everybody got
He does stab
undusted.
at one point.
Yeah. Everybody got undusted. So Thanos' army shows up, and it's just the Avengers we've been hanging out with up to this point, and then a bunch of the sling ring portals open up, and a bunch of Wakandans and all the undusted heroes come marching through and join the fight. But yeah,
Yeah, Wong's like, I got everyone I've heard of.
yeah,
I haven't heard of the Netflix show people, so I couldn't bring
yeah.
them.
So there were a bunch of Wakandans, a bunch of sorcerers, whatever Asgardians were left, Meek in his knife suit, and
Yeah.
Korg, and yeah,
What about the like Quake and
oh yeah,
Yo-Yo?
the Shield agents of Shield
I mean, what's Ghost
guys.
Rider doing right now?
Man, can you imagine if Ghost Rider
Ghost Rider
showed up
rides
in
through
there?
and smacking people. Oh man, that would be cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, ABC probably would have been fine with that. But what's his name? Is it Gabriel Luna, the dude who played?
uh-huh.
Yeah, he's
Well,
played a different version of Ghost Rider in the new Ghost Rider show. I think that's another one of the Hulu shows.
yeah, they're doing a Hulu Ghost Rider show,
I
and
mean, it's
yeah,
still
it's going to be the same actor, and I think it's still going to be the
Reyes.
same.
What's the name of that Ghost Rider? It's something Reyes, isn't it?
Yeah, Ghost Rider Shield. Let's see here. Yeah, it's Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes. Yeah.
Robbie Reyes, that's right.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
gonna
the
be
Robbie. Yeah, it's the
it's gonna
Robbie
be the
Reyes Ghost
same
Rider.
Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider, but it's from what I've heard, it's not going to be a spin-off of Agents of Shield. It's going to be a
Its
brand
own
new
thing,
series
right?
starring this Ghost Rider. So he's not going to have that Shield baggage, I guess. Even though he was really cool in Shield and would have
Yeah.
been awesome in that final fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's 2 hours, and we managed to spoil all of Endgame within an hour. So now you don't need to see the movie.
Yeah.
Pretty good. That's very
Yeah.
efficient of us.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think we're good for a night. It
Yeah.
makes up
Let's.
for being gone the last 2 weeks, I suppose.
Yeah.
So,
But it was fun
all right.
talking about it.
Yeah. All right, everyone. We're gonna plug our stuff, and Zachary will go to bed, and I will go to dinner, which is over there in my kitchen. So, thanks for watching. Andrew Eisen here. Eisen is how you spell the last name, which you'll need to know how to do if you want to plug it into YouTube and find my YouTube videos, or Twitter at Andrew Eisen to see my ridiculous tweets. And yeah, that's about it for me. Zachary, plug away.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, where I talk about gaming, politics, and other things that catch my attention. And you can follow my game development work at DK_gaming and on Twitter and dividenightgaming.com. And if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com.
All right, you've been watching the 143rd episode of Molehill Mountain. Thank you for that. We'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
See ya.